Hey guys, what is up? Welcome to Caliber Corner. We are on episode number 100. I just want to apologize. It is the 4th of July that you're watching this episode, but it has been pre-recorded because I got some family obligations, was not able to do a live show for that. I apologize, but we got a great show lined up for you. It's going to be relatively short, but it's going to be a fun one. And again, two simple topics today: the importance of American independence, and then also the 1911. Is it the most iconic handgun that the USA has ever used in the military, or that the USA has ever produced? Yes or no? We can argue that for a little while. And Night Strike just shared a really cool little article with me that I'll read parts of it to you guys, and then we will be done in about 45 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and get started here. We're going to let the panel introduce themselves since we're not live right now. We don't have anybody watching to shout out to, so we're just going to start off with the panel. And Squib, we're going to go ahead and start off with you since we started on the other side. So Squib, introduce yourself. What's going on, man?
Hi, Alicia.
Adios. I'm not your Alicia.
No, I figured since I always end with bye, Alicia, I should start with hi, Alicia.
Hola, Felicia. There you go. So, Squib, if somebody goes to your channel, what can they expect to find?
Well, some really substandard coffee reviews.
Oh, my God. You give yourself some credit. You do a good job. Yeah.
No, I have fun with it. I don't do a good job. There's train videos. There's videos about my garden. Sometimes there's some videos from me gallivanting around the country, and there's a few firearms-related videos. I'd like to get some more firearms stuff out there, and eventually I will. There's also a lot of videos where I kind of pick fun at my friends. I've done the shill video. Every week I release a closer video.
Mm-hmm.
Whoosh.
It always misses me because I'm usually sleeping when the closer's on. Unfortunately, I usually hit the hay about 10 o'clock on a Sunday night. Man, I'm unwinding at that point. I'm just like, I'm out. But yeah.
But my channel is I mean, even though it started out with it being a Second Amendment thing, and that is the primary goal of my main channel. I like to show some other facets of what I like to do, and maybe somebody tunes in that really the Second Amendment's not on their radar, at least not right now, or they're really not into guns, but there's other things they may like. Gun people are just like everybody else. They have other interests. They have other hobbies. They drink coffee. So that's just kind of the premise of my channel.
Cool, man. All right.
Thanks for inviting me to the show.
Appreciate you being here, man. You were here for episode number 1, and you're here for episode number 100. So there you go. It's been that long. All right. Rich White in the house. What's going on, Rich? How you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
Hey, man. Long time no see.
Yeah.
All right, man. So what kind of content you got on your channel? You got a show we can go check out, or what?
Yeah, I do a live show almost every Sunday night at 8 Eastern over on the Unloaded Media channel called This Week Unloaded. We talk politics, firearms, that kind of stuff.
Cool. All right. Awesome. Well, man, I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. Good stuff.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Night Strike in the house. What's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Wasn't I on the first episode too?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't got to you yet, though, so thank you for being with us from episode number 1. Yeah, you're the one that helped me set up how to run the stuff through gun channels and everything. So, yeah. I think it was you and Squib and Tony, if I'm not mistaken, on episode number 1. That was it.
Yeah.
Foos might have been there, too.
Foos might have jumped in, you know.
Yeah. I got to go back and check that one out.
I think Smeggy also jumped in, too.
Just for the record, that whole time we did episode 1, I was absolutely terrified. I just want to let you know. But you guys, you made it easy for me, so thank you. Yeah, I was scared, man. I was bitten out. I was sweating. Feet were all sweaty and stuff. I'm just like, live on the internet. Oh, my God. So, all right. So you got a little show people need to check out. What is the show, Night Strike?
Well, you are now, since Smeggy has been MIA for way too long.
He's melted.
I think he might have melted.
He might have melted.
You are now the unofficial co-host.
That's a lot of pressure, man. That's a lot of pressure, dude. All right.
I know, but you know, you're living up to your end. You're living up to your end because you're helping me out with some of the topics, and it really helps.
So you're Pat Sajak, and I'm your Vanna White.
That's. I think it's more like.
You tell me what to do, and I turn the letters.
I'm Butch Cassidy, and you're the Sundance Kid.
I like that. Okay, cool. It's like you're Megatron, and I'm was the sound wave. There we go. Yeah, Starscream. Yeah, I'm Starscream without the whiny ass voice. So, all right.
Right.
Cool, man. All right.
So the show is hit or miss every Tuesday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central for all you Central people. And, watch me and Roll Call on Roll Call 219's channel. That's Rants and Raves every Wednesday after Matt's. And, we'll probably do some more stuff. I don't know. Who knows? But
cool.
We're trying to keep things going. So
Sounds
thanks
good.
for letting me on.
Man, I appreciate you being here, dude. Thank you so much. And then up next, we've got a guy who's kind of new to the podcasting thing. He's got an up-and-coming channel called Never Enough Ammo. Matt, you want to introduce yourself to the masses?
Yeah, I don't do videos or chats or anything.
Just food reviews and makeup videos. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought. That's yeah.
And mukbang.
Yeah, lots of mukbang. Wait, what is mukbang again?
Ooh, muck
food,
what?
isn't it?
Hey, I thought you did. I thought you did ASMR gardening videos.
Feng Shui house arranging.
Plant the radicchio. Plant the carrots. Anyway, so yeah. So tell us a little bit about your channel, Matt. If somebody comes over there, what can they find?
Chaos and Discord, and sometimes you find something informative.
All right. So Matt, I wasn't sure if you're aware of this one. We're not actually we're live, but we're not live. Like we're live.
Yes, I know.
All right, cool. I didn't know if you were in on that because I don't know if I included you in the last link for the last episode. So I'm like, oh crap, I don't know if I got it to him. All right, man. We appreciate you being here. So thank you very much, and we'll get this one done in a jiffy. So
I might have to cut out a little early because I got my own chat starting at 8, so I got to go get that one set up and links sent out.
Oh yeah, I want to get this. We'll finish this one up. I know a lot of people are people watching this right now. We'll be watching on July 4th. I know they're busy with their families and stuff. So this is a good one for a bathroom break. So there you go. All right, cool. And all right, also with us, David Bowling, the Kingpin in the house. What's up, man?
Howdy do, sir. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. I appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. You've been here for a long time, too. It's good to have you on the show. And I think you'll like our second topic, the 1911. Because of you, basically, and Night Strike, I bought a 1911. So, I mean, because I bought the same one as you, dang it. So, all right. I'll send the receipt your way for a refund. So, all right. And last but not least, we got my brother to the west, E-Honda in the house. What's going on, man?
What up? Picked up a new book today.
Yeah.
I don't think you saw this yet, Matt. Check this out.
Farewell to Arms by Ernest Hemingway. Now that's a quality story about guns, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
$5 at a estate sale. These people had like a $5 million house, and I was dropping the kids off, and I drove by it, and I'm like, dude, I gotta see what they're selling. So I got that and some silverware.
You didn't tell us about the silverware. And that takes us into our first topic, American Independence. Now, all right. So, if you guys are, go ahead.
He mentioned it because he wanted to put the silverware in his blunderbuss.
What? My prison wallet?
Oh man, no, your blunderbuss that you use when you play on
Fortnite.
Oh,
sorry.
Your
hand. I was thinking about something else.
Oh man,
blunderbuss is an old style shotgun.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
All right, so it is. If you're watching this, it is July 4th, and we've got the very serious topic of American Independence, the 4th of July. What does it mean to us as Americans? What is the 4th of July all about? Man, I don't even know how to sum this up. Anybody want to join in? Somebody chime in on this. What does American Independence and Independence Day mean to you guys on the panel? I just want to go out there. Let's just throw it out there right now.
Freedom. That's about what it is. I mean, it's about freedom.
Freedom.
Yeah.
Much better trigger control this time, Night Strike.
we all need the William Wallace Claymore now.
I don't have a Claymore, so I can't say that. So there you go.
I have a modern Claymore. It's called a shotgun.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Oh,
shotgun.
okay.
The shotgun is freedom. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Freedom.
Yeah. I mean, and I think a lot of people that if you're watching this and you're not from the United States of America, you definitely need to come here to see what life is like, because you might be surprised at just the sheer amount of freedom that you actually do have, especially when we're talking Independence Day, when we broke ourselves away from our English overlords, I guess you could say, and separated. I mean, the whole idea behind it, you can understand why people want to come here. Not only is this the greatest country in the world, but just the idea that you can in fact fight back against the government if you need to. Now, granted, we're seeing our rights and stuff being limited, unfortunately, and controlled. But again, we're so unique that until you come here and experience it, it's really hard to just explain it, you know. But again, when you talk about, you know, Independence Day, man, I mean, it's where it's at. It's all about having the freedom, and it's all about, again, being able to live our lives. And I don't know if I could live anywhere else. I mean, just the idea of having my rights restrained and stuff. I see these other countries, and I mean, I probably wouldn't be alive if I was living in some of those other countries, just to see the restrictions that people have and just how ridiculous it is. But anyway, I'll open this up to you guys. 4th of July, independence, freedom. Why is it? Are we just taking it for granted? Do you guys realize just how lucky we are? What do you guys think?
I think we do, but most people don't, and they do take it for granted. And there are a lot of people out there who like it that way, because there's a lot of people out there who would love to see us turn into what a lot of these other countries are, where people don't know better. I mean, people. I'd be willing to bet a lot of people in Europe and a lot of these other places where they have far more restrictions on their liberty and their freedom, if they have any liberty or freedom at all, don't realize there's a better way. You know what I mean? Like, they don't.
Yeah.
To them, that's just life. That's just how it is. I have to operate within the confines of what society tells me I can and can't do. They don't know what it's like to live here, you know, and it may be little things here and there, but there are people actively in this country who, you know, want the next generation to feel the same way. They want the next generation to keep dealing with they're willing to put the fight up now for the things that we care about and for the freedoms and liberties. And that way, the next generation that comes along will just think it's normal to have everything be restricted. Well, that's just life, you know, whatever it is, guns or, you know, whatever the topic may be. So that's kind of one of the more important things people need to remember, especially on July 4th.
Well, and for me, another thing that's come up recently is, like, yes, like, people fought and died for our freedom. We should definitely respect that and know. And I've never been part of the military, so I can't speak to that at all. But we continue to have to fight for our right of free speech, for our right to bear arms, for other rights that they're trying to take away in America today. So I think today is a celebration of the victories that we've had in the past, and a reminder of, like, what people have sacrificed in the past to give us what we have today, and therefore how important it is to keep those freedoms.
And what surprises me is that there are people that propose, or even the fact that we even have something like Antifa, or you've got pro-communist groups or pro-socialist groups that are gaining popularity. That really does scare me. And you know, a lot of it, I think, has to do with young people not realizing what they're getting themselves into. That's playing with fire when you start to look at those ideas, because we look at other countries and they have those types of governments, and you see the taxes that are put on those people. Their taxes are bad enough in the US, but the taxes people are put in, how the healthcare system doesn't necessarily work for those people, how you don't have a right to defend yourself. You don't have a natural born right to defend your life. That concept, I can't even grasp, not having that right, where if you do defend yourself, you can go to jail, you can go to prison, you can be shot on sight. That's not life on this planet. That's not human living, you know? The whole concept of it is it just totally blows my mind. And it's scary to think that some of these groups are gaining in popularity. And unfortunately, you know, as somebody who educates young people, they entice these kids with these promises of freebies and so on. And I remember many years ago, we were working on resumes, and I had a student that this was before the election. He looked at me. I said, you haven't started your resume yet. And he goes, why would I even want to bother? I go, well, you know, this way you're kind of keeping track of all the things you've done. So when it comes time to apply for college or wherever you want to go, right, you've got a nice list of your achievements and what you've done and so on. And he goes, well, he looked at me and says, well, Bernie Sanders says I get to go to college for free. And he was dead serious. And I said, do you really think that's how it's going to be? Is that how it is in other countries? Do you really think that's how it's going to work? Everybody gets to go to college for free? And he's like, well, yeah, you know, that's what he said in the speech. And I mean, I kind of stopped at that point. I was like, wow, okay, so it's me against the world now. I mean, and I'm, you know, man, I don't know. I just totally kind of threw me a left on that one, but yeah.
If everyone gets to go to college for free, doesn't that kind of negate, like, a lot of what college gives you as far as, you know, accreditation and things like that, trying to get a job moving forward? They'll turn it into basically like a high school diploma. So now you have to get a master's degree to mean anything.
What happens is in countries where they do stuff like that, the higher education system becomes an extension of public schools. And sure, you can go and get training to do this or do that or do whatever, but it turns into more of well, you take the worst case scenario. You look at the Soviet Union. You go into college and they tell you what you're going to be because they control everything and they know what type of labor they need. They know what types of skills that need to be filled, and it becomes an all-encompassing machine to basically just churn out workers for the good of
the proletariat. Yeah.
That's a great example, Matt. It really is. People don't look down the road. They don't use what's happened already around the world in history and use that as an idea to look down the road and see where losing your liberties will lead you. Oh yeah, free college, but now you're going to be there. Well, I don't want to be there. Well, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and it's great that you bring that up because people aren't thinking far enough ahead because they're not looking to the past as a reference.
Yeah, well, they'll start it off all nice and you can do what you want. Oh, you want to go for critical thinking or vagina theory or whatever stupid crap that means nothing diploma they want to go. But after a while, those programs will start to disappear as it is controlled by the government. It will no longer be something that is private. These colleges, even though let's be honest, they're half government funded already, maybe even more than that when you count loans and everything else. But after a while, it'll just be them under control, and there won't be a teacher there that teaches dance theory. They'll just be like, well, we're not going to have that. We're not going to offer that at the schools anymore. And eventually it'll just trickle down into where there's only a few things you'll be able to even go to school for, and it'll be only the things that the government has sanctioned and the only thing that the government has decided it wants people out there doing. I mean, it happened literally every time that a society has tried to do this. That's what ends up happening.
Yeah, I've got a good friend of mine from Spain, and he taught with me for a couple of years, and he explained to me in Spain, the government does pay for your college, your university time, but you've got to pass the exam. And if you're not in that upper 10, 15%, 20% of the graduating population, you're basically told you can go to a trade school or you're on your own, or mom and dad can pay for school, which is even more expensive than it is in the U.S., which is why a lot of students come to the U.S. to get their education because it's actually cheaper. And then even then, so the thing is, okay, so that, he got to go to college and became an educator himself, but he had a lot of friends where the government was paying for everything. And so you had a glut of people that wanted to be doctors and architects and engineers. You have more than what their country needs. And so then you've got these massive unemployment rates of people that can't get hired, plus their certifications aren't valid outside of Spain. So they couldn't go work in Germany or France if they wanted to. They'd have to work at a lower level. They might work in that field, but they're not going to be the doctor. They're not going to be the architect or the scientist or whatnot because the certification doesn't count those other countries. So here you've gone through this whole promise of this whole system. When you're done, you don't have a job. You end up working service or working in a store or whatnot. And so that can be very dangerous when we make a lot of these promises. So people need to understand what makes us so different is we don't have to go that path or that route. You can still do what you want to do,
But with that freedom becomes individual responsibility, and that's being dissolved as well. And our individual responsibility is another thing that has made this country great. It goes hand in hand. If you really want freedom to work, if you want everything that so many people in the past have sacrificed so that you and I can have it today and almost take it for granted today, you have to have individual responsibility. And when you have these countries that just go socialist, it totally destroys the society, and it goes against all the principles of America. All the things that when they broke away from England, when a convention got together and signed the Declaration of Independence, well, actually they kind of sent it around and signed it. They weren't all actually, if I remember correctly, they weren't necessarily all in the room at the same time or something like that. I forget how exactly it went, but where they had to send out different copies of it or something to that effect. But when they were doing that, they were all signing their own death warrant. Some of them were arrested. I think one or two of them died in prison or got sick in prison for the rest of their life. They were suffering ailments from being in prison. Some of them lost all their property. It was a lot of risk taking that our leaders back then they took. And that's one of the things you hear these people in these other countries, and I'll say what Trump said because I've been there. Okay, I've been deployed there. Third world shitholes. Those people hate America because they hate our freedom, and they've been told to hate us by their leaders. Yeah. And the thing is, none of them are as brave as our ancestors were over 200 years ago to risk imprisonment, to risk death, to risk losing all their property. These were wealthy men and stuff. These were leaders and influential people, and they had a lot more to lose than the common person. And instead of just going with the flow and going, well, we're just with King George, they took the lead. There's nobody in these third world countries. They're all a bunch of, their leaders are bullies. There's nobody there to saying, who's with me? Let's take back our country. Let's do this. Let's do that. And we're an example to the rest of the world. If we can do it, you got to think, how many colonists were really on board with it? Not as many. Look at our military. Our army was in shambles. We had virtually no navy. And it was a mess for a while. For a while there, we kept falling back and falling back and falling back. And we've really come close to losing. And then in 1812, the British came back. So I think America stands as an example to the rest of the world of what a few brave, resourceful, intelligent people can do when they get together and they decide to stand up for freedom. And you could say that some ways economically, in some ways politically, the way we broke away from England was kind of a jerk move. But the ends justify the means in this case, because we have been the leader of the free world. If we hadn't created this country, imagine what the world would be like today without America. Imagine it. It'd be awful.
Yeah. And I want to bring this up real quick. So Matt, while I have you here, 8 years ago, Matt educated me on something that was very important. It definitely opened my mind. I was back in my 30s, Matt, when I watched your video, the difference of the democracy versus the republic. Can you? Oh God, yeah, dude. I still go back and watch it once in a while. What is, for people that don't understand, what is the difference between a democracy and a republic, or a constitutional republic? What is the difference in the mindset? Because they even said it last night. This is a democracy. Is it really?
They love to use that term a lot
because it means everyone gets to say, right?
Yeah, and to them, it's a means to an end. You know, it's constitutional republic, democracy, socialism. I mean, it's on the pathway there. And you know, people will say that, you know, a republic is a democracy. It's a form of democracy, and it's a form of democracy in the way that a Mustang is a form of a Ford Model T. You had to start with something. Yes, democracy came along first, but the idea is it's mob rule. A republic. You know, basically a democracy, 51% of the population can tell the other 49% what to do, regardless of what it is. In a republic, the idea, I mean, well, there's a lot of ideas to it, is to take that basic thing of putting the people first, but first of all, put limits on what can and can't be done through a constitution, okay? Which is probably the most important aspect of it. That's the most important aspect of being a constitutional republic. The idea of just being a republic is to, you know, go through and in a different way than it would work in a democracy, to make sure that there are checks and balances in place, and there are representatives that are there to represent us, the individual, on a scale where that representative is supposed to cater to a group of people. Like, let's say your congressman is supposed to cater to the people in his district and speak for them on behalf of them. And the idea was to filter that down enough to where people would feel adequately represented, still have a say in what is going on in the government, and have a document that would ensure that their rights would never be trampled on.
Yeah.
And those are things that don't happen in a democracy. They can't. There are some things that can happen. If somebody wants to run a democracy and say, well, we're going to do a representative democracy or whatever, you can do that, but then it's not just a democracy anymore. So they're different. They have some similarities. One definitely sprouted from the other.
Yeah.
But it's so clear that a democracy, just straight democracy, and especially the way they tout it, like on these debates that I'm going to be watching tonight, it's what they're talking about is mob rule leading into socialism. And you know, and in some ways I feel like it's the same type of thing they tried to do with the healthcare system, which they even came out and admitted later on. You can catch people on camera. We had to break it so that we could move on to single payer. You know, that's what Obamacare's job was to do, was to break the system so that they could move on to what they really wanted. And I feel like them pushing democracy all the time, air quotes there, is really a way to try and break the system to move to the socialism that they want.
They use the term democracy as a weapon, just like they use the popular vote as a weapon.
Mm-hmm.
And if you take 5 seconds out of your life and study the difference between the popular vote and the electoral college and why there is an electoral college, then if you have any brains in your head or not, or at all, then you should definitely want to keep an electoral college. But then they throw that word democracy out there because, the everyday Joe Schmo out there that hears the word democracy, you say, yeah, that's right. The people should be able to vote for what they want.
Well, and another big difference, I believe, between America and all these other third world countries, let's say, like a lot of them anyway, is the rule of law, right? Like in America, for the most part, if you are assured that if you break a law, that you will be punished for it. I mean, not everybody, it's not perfect, but a lot of the time and pretty frequently you get caught. Or if you continue to do something, sooner or later you will. So like having that backed by a government which we can have relative trust is not corrupt to the point where they're going to go after an individual like that. I mean, yeah, there's corruption, but hopefully that there's some sort of an equal application of the law across population, so it doesn't matter who you are. I think that gives you social cohesion, that allows you to build on the shoulders of giants, and that's why we have like buildings and bridges and roads and all kinds of crazy stuff that none of us built. We were just born into, and we need to do our part to protect.
Yeah, and Matt brought up the socialized medicine thing with Obamacare and everything, and we're talking about individual freedoms. Over in the UK, where they now have socialized medicine, like what they want to do in this country, women can be forced to end their pregnancy if a judge decides that that's the way it should go. It just happened last week where a woman who was mentally disabled was ordered by a judge to abort her 5.5-month pregnancy.
Right, that was horrible, by the way. That was just insane. Yeah. Now, fortunately, I do think somebody came by, and I think another judge overturned it later on. But the fact that you have societies like that feel like they can do that's okay for them to say, well, and it goes back to this very progressive ideology that they know better than us. They know what's good for us. And especially like in that particular situation where the girl was mentally challenged, even though she had a mother that was there to help take care of the baby and they both wanted the baby, to that judge, that person was not a good enough person. And the baby just was going to not be a productive member of society, just like the mother was. So why not just go ahead and get rid of it? It's like Mangala level crap that they're pulling. It's that mentality.
I have to jump in here and say something. They think they know better than us. No, these people are so insane and so fanatical. They think they know better than the founding fathers who put our country in place.
Well, see, that's on the same line. I think that it's the absolute hypocrisy and arrogance of them that they want to keep pushing this stuff, which if Bernie Sanders is not an idiot. He knows what's happened in the 20th century. He knows what's happened every single time a socialist and a communist or any of these social democrats have ever gotten power. So he knows exactly what's going to happen, but he feels in his brain that he's the one to do it. Because you'll hear them all say, well, it just hasn't been done right yet. So they think AOC thinks she has the key to socialism.
It flies in the face of everything this country has stood for, everything that this country has gone through to get from being a newly liberated colony to the only world superpower. There's a lot of things that happen, good and bad, and a lot of times people today who call themselves educated but they're really ignorant judge our past by modern standards. They didn't have cell phones back then. They didn't have Google. Not everybody went to school or completed school. We didn't have medical technology like we do today. We didn't have a lot of things that we had, but people judge America's past by modern standards. They're that ignorant. Do you really think George Washington had a cell phone and could just call and instantly have somebody on the other side of the country, on the other side of the planet, answer? And it took weeks, months.
No, but he did have wooden dentures.
Benjamin Franklin
whatever.
went to school
But-
2 weeks a year for 5 years, and that's all the education he ever got.
But and see, the thing is, a man with that little bit of education was still able to lead us during the revolution and be our first president.
Well,
But
he
still,
learned
the
to
whole thing
read.
is that they judge and they say, well, this was wrong, or this was bad, or America was evil because of this, or America this, or America. Okay, put yourselves in the shoes of the people that lived back then. Put yourselves in the standards of the time. You can criticize us for being more feudal back then. You can criticize us for being less intelligent back then. You can criticize. It's great, wonderful. But we had to start somewhere. We had to come from somewhere. If you want to go back and you want to criticize all of the bad things America has done, at the time it didn't seem that bad to the people that lived then and what was going on. So you can look at it today and go, well, by today's standards that would be wrong. But back then it wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
Move on. Let it go. Quit criticizing your own country. Your own country. There are people that get on TV and talk about how bad America was because back in the 19th century, America did, whoa, stop, hold it. And I don't think they realize there are other countries that were doing things that we stopped doing. These other countries continue doing that. Some countries still do it to this day. So
there's countries that had slavery into the early 1900s and still do. There's still a country that has,
Northern
full-on
Africa.
regular
Canada
legal slavery.
was
There's
sterilizing-
open-air slave markets in Libya today
Yeah,
going
right now.
on, where you can buy a human being for like $200 US.
Canada, one of the most social liberal countries, socialist liberal countries, they didn't start out that way, but they've gotten really socialist over there. Up until the late 1970s, were sterilizing people with mental retardation because they thought if they reproduced, they would just breed more people that were mentally retarded. And by the way, scientifically, that's not the way it works. It doesn't. It doesn't
doing
work
that in
that way. You
America
don't-
too. I mean, there was a point in America where we were doing the same thing, and I guess you
Right,
were just
but-
saying like you can't go back and
but our
judge
neighbors to the
the
north-
past. But I mean, that was less than 100 years ago. So
I understand, but what I'm saying is our neighbors to the north were doing it decades after we quit. And that's an example of we're not the only bad guy out there. Every country has skeletons in its closet. You need to let go of that, and you need to look forward. You need to go, yes, by modern standards, this was bad, but America, love it or leave it.
Well,
You
you
know?
also have to look at when somebody starts to dig into America had slaves, America had racism and bus segregation. Ask them what party they vote for, and nevertheless they will say, "Oh, I'm a Democrat," and then say, "Well, go back and look at the Democrats were responsible for all that." Why did we have slavery for so long? Because of the Democrats. Yeah, the Republicans conceded in a bunch of different places to keep the Union together, but let's see. What was the Northern Army about? That wasn't a whole bunch of Democrats, all the other what's the stupid law? The John Brown law. I can't think of the one that they always bring up. The Jim Crow law. Yeah, thanks Democrats. Appreciate that. Women not getting the right to vote. Thanks Democrats. Sorry, Matt. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying. It just seems like we sit here and we get lectured and get told that we should feel bad about and figure out ways to fix all the things that it was them who did. Like they did it all, and then they come around and they lecture. They take no responsibility that it was their party. They never apologize. Even when you look at like Hillary Clinton, when she was one time asked about Margaret Sanger and the fact that she was literally a genocidal maniac who wanted to eradicate whole swaths of the population.
Slavery.
She won't.
Civil War.
She doesn't acknowledge it. She's like, well, I can look at some of the good things. People do good things and bad things. And
internment
really,
camps,
she did some really
Jim
good. It just like
Crow laws,
completely flies over it. It's so ridiculous.
segregation.
well, they're still doing the same thing today. Look at what's going on at the border right now. They're like creating all these circumstances and ways where if you like bring your kids with you across the border that you're going to get through easier. So like record numbers of people are jumping the border, right, and going through these ports of entry and being like detained by ICE or whatever, by Border Patrol. And then they're not giving them money for beds, and they're not giving them money, and they're blaming the other side for creating this problem. It's like, do you think Donald Trump really had anything to do with like more Mexicans coming across the border or more people crossing the border illegally? If anything, he's the one who's like stemming that tide in some way. You know what I mean? And like trying to do something about it and calling it a problem. And meanwhile, they're like just now getting to that same page of the book where they're like, oh, there is a crisis. And then taking half measures. And then companies like DuPont or whatever the F it is that like won't make the beds in protest for the order that the government placed. Like these things are ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, all I know is, the Democrats are calling anyone who's on the right of the Democrat Party a Nazi. But, as far as I'm concerned, the Democrat Party was responsible for slavery, the Civil War, the Japanese internment camps during World War II, Jim Crow laws, and segregation. And it's also their fault that there had to be a civil rights movement in this country just to get those rights back for those people.
Well,
Okay, so it's not. It's so if the Republican parties were really Nazis, we would be way worse than all of that shit. But we're not.
Well, they spent a whole bunch of time erecting Confederate statues to tear them down 25 years later.
Yeah.
And the thing is, America is about a lot of things, about these freedoms that one side says the only freedoms you're allowed to have are the ones we're going to let you have. Well, wait a minute. Isn't that what King George did? The only freedoms you can have are the ones I'm going to let you have. My side is the only side. My opinion is the only opinion. I'm the only one that's right. And that's what it seems like it's going to today, is people are on one side are saying, we're the only ones that are right. We're the ones that have always only been right. You're not allowed to have an opinion. It's like, no. I'll listen to your opinion, you listen to my opinion, and we'll let our democratic republic resolve it. But when you have one side saying, nope, sorry, we're not going to give you equal chance to talk. Nope, sorry, we're going to close our minds and not listen. Nope, sorry, you can never be wrong. We're always going to find a way to, we're going to burn the ballots or do whatever. It flies in the face of why we broke away from England. We should have just stayed with England. And granted, I said earlier, the world would be a different place. It really would be a different place if we had just stayed with England. But the way we're going with our country, we're going to be in lockstep with the UK socialism in no time.
Yeah, the idea is to not let that happen, man. So this is just food for thought. Okay, 4th of July, Independence Day. Why it's important? It's more than just fireworks, firecrackers, having a day off to sit around with the family and grill and drink some brews. Or it goes way beyond that. And the important thing is we don't forget that foundation, where it came from, and why we are so much different than the rest of the world, and why the rest of the world wants to be us. They don't want to admit it, but they do. Deep down inside, they wish they were here. Because I've traveled to a few different places, and it's the opinions that people share, what they have to do, and just talking to people through YouTube and so on, listening to people from other countries talk and chat with them. It's not like that. Once you get out of the U.S., the rest of the world it's a whole different ball game, man. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, it's called Independence Day for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just because we broke off from England. It's because Travis is his own man, and he can do what he thinks is best for his family, right, wrong, or indifferent, because guess what? If you make the wrong decision, who's going to deal with that? Travis is going to deal with that. And the human spirit has wanted that ever since we first stepped foot on this planet. And we've strived for it. And America is the place that decided, let's give it a shot. If we fail, we're going to die trying. But we're going to try this new thing that every human being deep in their heart really wants. And that's to be free and independent and do what you think is best for your family. And 243 years later, it's still working pretty good. And I think we got well more than 243 years left in us, as long as we don't allow them to legally strip it away. Because Antifa's not coming out with guns. Hillary Clinton's not coming down the street in a tank. She's sitting in an office with a pen, just like Obama said, his pen and his phone. If we let any of these politicians, from Obama to Trump, rip us apart with their pen and their phone, they're going to get away with it. They're not going to kick in your door and force you to vote for Hillary Clinton or force you to vote for Donald Trump. They're just going to make it impossible for you to vote.
Yeah.
Yep.
So remember what not the Constitution, but the Declaration of Independence said. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, the Bill of Rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their powers from the consent of the governed. That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Prudence, indeed.
I've always been fond of when, in the course of human events, it becomes necessary to break the political bonds which have held us together.
Well,
This is one of those times.
I'm quoting from the Declaration of Independence, of which I actually have a relative that actually signed it. I believe in this country more so than I would say probably anyone running for president on the Democratic side right now.
And the sad thing
Not only did I have family that signed the Declaration of Independence, I had family that fought in the Revolution, that fought the oppression of King George, that fought the British, that burned hundreds of houses down because of the Declaration of Independence, to try and squash this, it was what King George called rebellion, which it was a bit more than a rebellion, wasn't it, King George?
the sad part is, if you were to read the preamble that you just read today on the street corner without telling anybody what
no one would care.
No, they wouldn't care, or they would tell you it's hate speech.
They probably wouldn't know what it was.
They'd say it's the intro to the next Star Wars movie.
Yeah. Like, oh, is that the new Michael Bay film? Oh, man. Yeah, I think we definitely need to put on ourselves to educate.
Granted, I'll give you that I did paraphrase a little bit of it because,
right.
It's the Declaration of Independence is very long. And I only really paraphrased the part that really hits home, and that, that everyone should understand. Because, quite honestly, if our government gets too tyrannical, it is our job to stand up and say no and fight back. Not necessarily with arms, but, under protest, under, yelling and screaming at the top of our lungs, doing whatever we have to make sure we're heard.
That's the whole point about doing this America thing, is to stop having to kill each other. That was it. That's what the Constitution's about. That's what the Bill of Rights is about. Is when you have a government that's not doing what you want, you don't need to pick up a gun and go burn the building down. You can legislate them out. That's another thing that a lot of people miss, is if you follow the Constitution and the system that we have set up of a government and our laws, we don't need to fight anymore.
But that doesn't mean that we aren't allowed the right to own a gun for whatever reason.
But yeah, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the fact that 100 years ago, before America, so 300-400 years ago, if you were mad with the king, you stormed the castle with pitchforks and knives and all that stuff, because you had no other recourse. We have a recourse. The elections and voting and our voices and stuff like that. We don't have to settle for the firearm. And that's what makes America more unique and better than every place else that's ever existed. We decided when we disagree, we don't need to kill each other over it. We can debate it and legislate it out.
This is true.
My grandfather was a veteran, and when I was younger, he would always sit me down and tell me about how great this country is and how much he respects and how proud he was to serve in the military. That when he spoke about it, he had that spark of life that you don't see in people anymore. Someone who truly believed in what this nation stands for and what our military did and how our country was. Nowadays, when people talk about the United States, when people talk about our military or our government, they don't have that same spark anymore. And that's the problem.
Yeah, we definitely need to get it back. I'm telling you. And again, I do believe it starts with the schools. I think if it starts with us, it's definitely gonna be an uphill battle, man.
So,
Yeah.
Travis, can we talk
Yeah.
about 1911s now?
Yeah, we're gonna go ahead and move over to that, guys. That's the second
mean-
half of the just the discussion for this evening, and no, definitely, man.
I mean, I'm starting to get a little teary-eyed. So
I understand. I understand. So
I love this country as much as my grandfather does.
there you go.
So it hurts to see how far we've fallen.
Do you want me to read through?
Do you want to read through some of that article?
Just a few paragraphs. Okay.
There's some great stuff in that, because I saw that just browsing the internet the other day. I wasn't even looking for gun stuff, and it's like, hey, check out this cool article on the 1911.
So I've recently come into the ownership of a 1911, and I blame members of this panel for me making that purchase. Absolutely love it. Oh yeah, I've got one. I had one before, but I'm back now. So the 1911s are definitely taking off again, and yes, that's right. And there you go, David, showing off a wonderful example. Let me just get mine out real quick, David. You're gonna get
you got it.
Just there. It's that time. So
hold on. It's that time.
Off,
okay, there we go. All right.
Mine's been oiled too.
Me too. I just cleaned it a couple days ago. I
cleaned mine this afternoon.
Yeah. So it's 1911 time. So real quick, I did kind of post some fighting words in the title. Is the 1911 the most iconic handgun that the U.S. military has ever designed and or used? And Nice Strike gave me a link to this fantastic article. I just want to read a few paragraphs from it. It's really quick and simple. Pretty much gets right to the point. So this is from nationalinterest.org. And the date's June 18th, 2019. It says, forget Glock or Sig Sauer. This 100-year-old gun might just be better. Is it possible? It says, the response of some weapons designers might have been to develop a fully automatic gun. If one bullet wouldn't stop the enemy, 3 might. That would be the argument of a disposable consumerist culture of overabundance. But we weren't there yet. The 1911 was frugal with its bullets, but the ones it dished out really did the job. The 1911 is one of the most notorious handguns in history and easily the most famous in America, having seen action in every U.S. conflict since World War I. One of the most successful product designs ever, the 1911 has achieved something rare in the world of machines, immortality. Over 100 years old, it remains largely unchanged. What Appleistic consumers electronics, our Lord and Savior John Moses Browning was to late 19th century and early 20th century firearms. The 1911 is his most famous design. Typical 1911 is 8.25 inches from tip to tail and weighs 2.49 pounds, empty, about as much as a trade paperback book. The 1911 is made of steel, and more steel, and takes a magazine that holds 7 bullets. The 1911 has seen service in World War I, Mexico, Haiti, Nicaragua, the Dominican Republic twice, Lebanon, World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, Iran, Grenada, Panama, the Gulf War, the Iraq War, and Afghanistan. It's chased badmen from Pancho Villa to Osama bin Laden. And here's the last paragraph I want to read.
How many guns can you say that? Pancho Villa to Osama bin Laden.
Yeah. The only thing those all have in common is lead, and that's pretty much it. So
right?
Minor adjustments have been added here and there, but the general appearance and function of the gun has largely been left unchanged. The 1911 is a personification, among weapons anyway, of what architect Louis Sullivan termed form following function. The 1911 was not designed to be beautiful. It was designed to be useful. Ergonomically, everything is where it should be for maximum efficiency. And the article does go on and gives a lot more of the details of its development. But just in my opinion, we see this resurgence of the 1911. It seems like you're seeing a lot more videos on YouTube on. A lot of us are picking them up. And I don't know what it is, but there's just something about it that's just very American. It's just you feel patriotic owning one of these things. So whether or not you guys all on the panel have one or not, doesn't matter. But thoughts, feelings on the 1911? David, I'm going to start off with you.
Well, I'm looking at mine right here, and I'm wondering why the guy said it wasn't beautiful. Because this thing is stunning looking. I think the 1911 is a gorgeous handgun.
Because he probably has one of these.
I mean, still, even that.
Parkerized. I mean, don't get me wrong. This looks beautiful too, especially when it's all oiled and cleaned. Oh my God! But again, it's not stainless, and maybe that's the issue. Maybe he should have gotten a stainless one.
Yeah, but I would imagine if we had some virtual reality stuff and you walked out and asked 1,000 people out in public what they thought a gun looked like describe a handgun to me. I bet you the vast majority of them would describe the 1911.
It's the,
I don't know.
it's the Jeep Cherokee
I don't know. I
profile
think,
of the archetypical SUV.
I think the
right?
vast majority would say this because this is every
No?
no gun no gun allowed sign I see has a no Beretta 92 sign on it.
Yeah, I can concede to that. You're probably right about that.
But we
Yeah,
can blame
no
the
problem.
we can blame the Italians for that one. So
But
Some of those no
but
guns
again,
allowed signs actually have Glocks on them now. So
but again, if you ask anyone, what's one of the few iconic guns from World War II, a lot of them probably going to say this one.
oh yeah,
You know, just because the factor is, 45 ACP did beat 9mm in World War II.
and World War One.
we can have a tally going back and forth on this and see which one is supreme. So this almost deserves a bracket.
It almost does, but I don't think we have time to set one up.
No, I just want to get this out here.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna irritate Night Strike, but I'm gonna say it's not the most iconic. I would put it at number 2 as the most iconic handgun. If you want to say most iconic semi-automatic pistol, I will say yes. I think there's a revolver that's more iconic. The
But
Colt
I bet you
1873 single action Army.
I about muted you, Rich. You chose your words wisely.
I about muted him too.
What was that? What was that you just said? The what? What?
Why don't we
Okay.
go one further? Okay, the most iconic handgun of the 20th century.
Okay.
Can you agree with that one, Rich?
Squib is being
Yeah,
disturbingly
okay.
quiet right now. Squib, what's your opinion on all this? Are we just a bunch of armchair quarterbacks talking out of our butts, or what? Armchair commandos there, Squib. What do you think, man?
Everybody's entitled to an opinion, but if your opinion is anything other than the 1911 is the best handgun ever, the most iconic handgun ever, I don't even know what other words to use. If you're then we're going to have a strong difference of opinion.
Well, that's why we live in America, where we can have our own opinion.
There you go. Exactly. That's right.
We don't have to agree on everything. But again, don't think that that the founding fathers agreed on everything, because FYI, they didn't.
Oh, yeah.
I like the 1911. It works. They still make them because they work. You can do some things to them, a little bit here, a little bit there. You can change the caliber up. You can change the length up. You can double stack them. You put different sights on them, make them out of different material. You can pretty them up. You can do whatever. But for the most part, it works. It's always worked, and it's as simple as that. Somebody can say it doesn't have enough capacity. Somebody can say it's too heavy. Somebody can say it's outdated. They can say whatever they want. I'm going to say to that person, you've probably never shot one.
Travis, can I read one paragraph from this article?
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Yeah.
The writer of this article, he wrote something very interesting. He's like, one day at a gun show in Reno, a scraggly character walked up to my display table. He paid a particular attention to the 1911 pistols that were on display, with the look of someone who collected dangerous snakes admiring someone else's snake collection. I spent some time in the California correctional system, he said with a grin. I've seen a lot of guys with 9mm scars, but I ain't never seen anyone with a 45 ACP scar.
Well, and again, you've got modern handgun ammunition. These are designed and they are built and they have been enhanced to fire hollow point ammunition. You can get plus P defensive rounds if you want to. It's not like it's incapable. Aside from capacity, there's not much of an advantage over other firearms out there. Especially if you've got a nice 1911 that is reliable and will run for you. But yeah,
you can negate the capacity thing because there are double stack 1911s.
Yep.
Yeah, there's double stack.
You'll have the whiners that say they're too heavy, but I don't know.
You can
eat a more balanced diet, work out a little bit.
If you don't mind a little extra clearance, you can get 10-round magazines for them like it's nothing.
Oh.
Go 10 plus 1, you got 11 rounds. So there you go.
Hold on.
Uh-oh.
If somebody thinks a 2011, which is what the double spec 1911 is too heavy.
The Para Ordnance P1445 double stack 1911.
Yeah,
and now Remington makes the what is that?
The Remington. Well, the Remington's actually the old Para 1445. Because for me, they bought them and they just brought them back
Right.
to their name.
Now, somebody will whine that the grips are too wide, but they're just as wide as an
Travis,
M9.
did someone say 10-round magazines?
There you go. There you go. See? All right.
There
See,
you
now you guys
go.
are ready to rock and roll. See? There you
I'm
go.
ready.
Yeah, there's your 10 right
There
there,
you go.
man. I'm sure there's probably a 30 out there somewhere that we just haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
Like a little barrel that goes underneath of it, you know?
No, there's a 25-round drum.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, there you go. See,
But I got this is just a Pac-Man 10-round magazine that I got off of eBay, a couple of years ago for like $5.
and that's another nice thing about it. Magazines are readily available on eBay with a variety of brands and builds, and
some of them are actually relatively inexpensive, especially if you just need you get like a 7 or an 8-round magazine. You can get them off eBay USGI for like $4 or $5 a piece.
Yeah,
they're really inexpensive.
Yeah. Now, I have fired a 45 before. I have not fired this one yet. I've not had a chance to take it to the range because I just got it a couple days ago and I've cleaned it. And I'm actually waiting for my friends to come up, and we're going to do some range time here around the 4th of July. And I'm going to get them a chance to shoot it and break it in, so it should be a good time.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it, man. But anyway, we just had to bring up the 1911. It's like being the 4th of July, in our opinion, it's a very iconic firearm. It's something to look into. A lot of people are buying them now. There's a lot of options. You can get into one for, new for what, $400, I suppose, maybe a little bit less than that, all the way up to whatever, 3.5 million if you want that meteorite gun. So there you go. Whatever works for you guys. So yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Humphrey Bogart used the 1911 in High Sierra. Steve McQueen used it in the Gateway.
It's been in 200. It's been in 200.
And the Sand Pebbles. Tom Selleck in Magnum PI used the 1911.
Yeah.
And Dick Tracy carried a 1911 rather than the police revolvers of his day.
Anybody ever see a $4 million Glock?
No.
No, I don't think so. I'm sure there will probably be one, like the frame will be carved out of a meteorite. I'm sure somebody's probably going to work like an 80% meteorite lower. There will be somebody that will make one. It'll have the Zev or whatever gold barrel, and hey, and I'm a Glock owner. I've got a Glock 17 Gen 4, right? Just haters, hold your fire, okay? So but yeah, no, I've never seen the $1 million Glock yet. I'm sure it's coming. But all right. So guys, not to cut it short, I'm gonna go and wrap this one up so people can enjoy their 4th of July. So thanks for watching Caliber Corner this evening. We're going to let the panel say a few choice words here, and then I think we'll go ahead and wrap this one up, episode number 100. Join us the week after for episode 101. It's going to be a lot of fun. And real quick, panel, you guys say a few kind words. David Bowling, Kingpin, what you think, man?
Happy Independence Day to everybody out there, and thanks for having me, Travis.
Cool, man. Appreciate you being here, and thank you for contributing, man. It's awesome having you on here. And Night Strike, anything you want to say before we go?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, hold on.
Shall not be infringed.
Nobody puts Travis P11 in the corner. Oh, there you go. Dual wield on that one. There you go.
Right, 92 and the 1911.
Nice. There you go. Exactly.
And then I got the B320 in the back.
There's something for everyone. Everyone can be happy. Everyone can be happy in the Night Strike family. That's right.
Yep.
All right. Rich, anything you want to say before we go, bud?
Yeah, hold on. Here. Let me get my stop.
Yeah, hold on.
Get your shotgun out.
Everybody wants to show off their toys. There you go.
Freedom. There you go.
There's your Freedom Axe right there.
Matt called it my modern Claymore.
Your modern Claymore, yeah.
That's awesome, dude. That's freaking awesome.
Great. That was great.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate you being here, Rich. Thank you so much, man. Good stuff. All right. Squibby, anything you would say before we go, man?
Yeah, sorry about the noise. Look forward to another 100 episodes. Really like coming on your show, Travis. And everybody have a safe Independence Day.
All right. Thank you very much. You guys all have yourselves a great little holiday. And guys, thanks for watching. Have fun. Be safe. And as you know, we will talk to you soon. Y'all take care. Thanks for supporting the channel. And again, here's another 100 episodes.
Bye, Alicia.
Bye-bye.
Buenas noches.
Practice fireworks safety.
Police.
Shall not be infringed.
Independencia.